So I'm going to walk through the key PeopleXD Evo demonstration today, looking at onboarding at scale from high turnover to peak productivity. So if we begin in the super user or HR admin tool here and look at that onboarding process at the beginning, we can see our successful applicants in the top left command center there. So these applicants, as we'll know from the recruitment process, we've captured all of their candidate information. We're then applying them as a new starter or a future new starter to the solution. They will end up in the HR module with a future start date, and as such will inherit tasks based on their start date and also their location, their job title. If we look at those key starters, we can see that checklist item on screen here. Now this checklist item is for that onboardee or future new starter, but it's also for internal teams as well. So think about IT requests for new laptops, think about company equipment and things like employee documents that have been issued. If we think about some of Emma's points there and the impacts of employees or future new starters not turning up on day one, and look at that cost of that no-show on day one, this is where our solution can really start to engage that onboardee before their start date. So they'll be given a reduced version of the solution where they can go in and create and complete those associated checklist items with their role. So again, because the system is post-based and it's post-based driven, they are going to inherit the roles and the terms and conditions, the checklist items that they are associated with in the hierarchy or the org structure. Again, we're not having to assign them from scratch every single time we have a new onboardee. Here we have the social hub information on screen here. So what we've got on screen is James Smith, the new starter or the future new starter, can go in 2-3 weeks before his start date to go and complete those onboarding checklist items. We can see the previous tasks that have been completed, and that can include things like onboarding experience surveys. Again, without having to go to day one and sign a load of paperwork, lots of forms, and really slow down that engagement from the new starter. If we look into that employee dashboard area within that new starter process, I can view all of my areas once I'm a new starter, my pay slips, my future roles, my future shifts in the top right hand corner, but also things like my objectives and my annual leave requests. Again, all of my employee data and future employee data is ready to be utilised from day one. Again, if we think about speeding up that onboarding process, the engagement for that new starter is a lot higher than if we were to not hear from that onboardee from the first 2 or 3 weeks. Then we can see all the different areas of the employee dashboard. This is also available on the mobile application. So if we take a look at the mobile application, here again, that new starter can get going with their onboarding checklist items to ensure that they are engaged, but also compliant from day one. So all of those checklist items that you want to configure and create for that individual and what they're expected to do in their role can be accessed via the PeopleXD mobile application, both for Android and iOS users. Here we have extra functionalities such as engagement surveys, but looking at some of those task lists, we can see we have 3 outstanding to complete. That can include GDPR policy details, but also key to that new starter, updating those bank details, which actually can't be completed until those first compliance checklist items have been complete. Then we can see some of the onboarding experience surveys, again getting critical feedback from that new starter on the recruitment process, on the interview process, and again building on that seamless approach across PeopleXD. We can then see the social hub area, so think about employee communications, new starter communications that can be restricted across the different areas of the organisation. If there's upcoming events across the different areas of the organisation, you can publish those to employees and also new starters as well. So not only do they have a seamless onboarding experience, but also they're aware of any updates around the organisation, any company news or any upcoming events, or alternatively, you might want to embed external URL documents. In here we can also access things like employee documents, P45, P60 information, and again the same with the onboarding access from a mobile device. It's seamless and it's a quick approach across the organisation at scale. If we turn to some of the analytics behind the onboarding experience, again, we can start to look at those key analysis, the key trends, and provide actionable analytics and strategies off the back of this. Looking across at different areas of the organisation, you can see headcount by organisation. You can see how this is altered across different areas by department, by location, but also, again, providing you that visibility of the current trends occurring in the solution. You can look at the increase of new starters. You can look at the increase of changes year on year across the different areas of the organisation. Again, these are all pre-configured, ready for your heads of department, your heads of HR, your business partners across the organisation to get those key infographics out the back of the solution. Furthermore, you're also able to share and schedule these infographics. You can also capture in the top right hand corner with the capture facility if this is an area of the organisation you are interested in most. We can start to compare those starters and leavers and provide that key valuable data, driving those challenges and reducing that time to hire, but also reducing things like retention, providing a great experience throughout the solution. You can also look at areas of focus for the different teams, the different resignation metrics in here, and look at some of the deep trends and where we need to focus across the different areas of the organisation. What are the locations, the job titles, and the tenure ranges of those individuals, and look at those timescales over the last year so we can start to put together strategies moving forward to increase and improve that onboarding experience, but also look at exploring other strategies in terms of communication through the social hub, as well as rolling out engagement surveys for the recruitment process as we covered further on. Then we take a look at some of the other key infographics on the analytics dashboard. We can see future trends as well. So if you're thinking about a recruitment drive at a certain month in the year, we can look at the projected headcount figures. We can apply that for previous assumptions, future assumptions as well. So if we're looking at including and increasing that employee start rate across the organisation, you have the ability to predict and plan for the future. Rather than being reactive when a certain event occurs in the system, what we've got here is the ability to work backwards and look at the different assumptions made across the analytics. So if we were to go on a recruitment drive, we can create an event in the solution on screen here. We can look at that projected headcount for the future and look at reducing things like resignation rate and providing the projected headcount for the next 12 or 24 months in the future. Again, giving your heads of department, your business leaders across the organisation, the key valuable insights that they need to know for future planning in terms of people strategies, but also across the organisation as well. If you'd like to find out more, please get in touch. Thank you.